Hi there. New camera, and my friend here is very interested. Yeah. Were people happier back in the old days? Back in, like I'm obsessed with the Viking Age, so the question for me is, were people happier during the Viking Age? What's your opinion? I think the short answer is that we don't know. And also I think that happiness was not really, it was not a necessity. Like these days people are obsessed with happiness, and some people, they say that I just want to be happy, which is good, you should be happy, but has this modern life with, social media, working all the time and all of that, has it made us less happy? Some people say that hunter-gatherers, they worked a lot less than we do if you work like 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. They were spending like productive time gathering food and so on, a lot less than that. So I think that in many ways people were actually happier, because there is something about their way of life. So if we go back to the Viking Age, again, they were much closer to nature, and they also didn't really have all the choices that we have. And you might think that that's a bad thing. That was a bad thing, and certainly it was in many cases, but also it made things simpler, right? Not advocating for going back to, know your place kind of society, but you kind of knew what you had to, what the frame, so to speak, of your existence would be, and you could adjust to that. Well, you had to adjust to that. So in that regard, I guess it's easier to be happy. I don't know. What do you think? Another thing that seems to stress us out a lot these days is health. And back then, they didn't have all the options when it comes to treatment for diseases and, life prolonging treatments and healthcare, which, if you get old enough, that's going to be your situation one way or the other. And I think that it was easier to be happy. I think that in many ways it's easier to be happy if that is just kind of taken out of your hands, and it's left up to the gods, so to speak. But I've never been in that situation, so I don't really know. I can tell you, this is just going to be a short walk and talk here, but I can tell you that when I go out in nature like this to make one of my Viking videos, I feel happier. I feel a lot more freedom, and I feel that I'm much more connected to nature and myself. But of course, I get to go home to a modern house. I know that some people, according to the comments, some people think that I live out in the woods like a Viking. But I actually have to go back to my house to edit these videos and so on. So that's just how it works. It doesn't happen by magic, you know. So you know, I guess what we should do is to try to learn from times past, to take the good and apply it in our lives. And I do believe that that means spending more time in nature, understanding that we are part of nature, and we should not isolate ourselves in an artificial environment with lots of screens and just, you know, I don't think that's good, you know. And also I do think that we work too much, and I've been very, very guilty because I've worked too much, I think. But that's just how it is, I guess. So yeah, I'll leave it up to you to answer that question. And you know, were people happier back then? Guess also it depends on the time period. Were people happier in Scandinavia during the Viking Age than they are now? Scandinavian countries, and Finland rank very high on the happiness score, but also lots of people, they take these antidepressants. I think Finland is almost at the very top in that statistics there. So yeah, more horses. Hello. They are very they want some company. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll talk to the horses a little bit now.